Welcome to our executive interview series at the Trellix Cybersecurity Summit presented by FedScoop and CyberScoop. I'm Wyatt Cashin. We're here with Shawnte Singletary, Director of Security and Privacy Compliance at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. That's part of the Department of Health and Human Services, of course. Shawnte, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to start by asking, from your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges that your agency is currently facing in keeping up with security compliance rules, particularly not only across the enterprise, but as agencies also work across extended software supply chains?
Yes, that's a really good question. Our agency is one of the optives that adopted a lot of cloud-based solutions. And in that adoption, some of them may not be FedRAMP, and we're looking to uncover some of those shadow ITs. But not only that, we're trying to adhere to the cyber supply chain risk management requirements and getting that assessment process built into our SDLC, which we call the TLC, and getting that assessment done during the early stages of a procurement, so that we can identify risks, whether it's supply chain risks or risks within a foreign entity, or maybe risks from a financial standpoint from that organization that maybe our supply chain team can identify. Or it could be that this company is not doing their security due diligence, maybe not adopting to some of the frameworks that align to NIST 853. So that's some of the things that we're trying to do here at CMS, is making sure that we are getting ahead of a lot of the procurements of non-FedRAMP or FedRAMP products and understanding the risk postures of those things before we fully adopt it or make long-term commitment through contract.
So agencies have come a long way with CIS's continuous diagnostics and mitigation program in gaining continuous operational visibility into devices and software and so forth. How would you characterize the extent of real-time visibility into the operations at CMS, and how are you continuing to also make sure you're in compliance with a lot of those rules?
Yes, and we're working on a program within CMS called SaaS Governance. In that program, it is going to help us discover, secure, and manage our SaaS platforms across the agency, whether it's from FedRAMP or non-FedRAMP. We instituted a process to oversee things that are non-FedRAMP, looking at some of the regulatory stuff that an organization may adopt to, like ISO 27000 certifications, SOC 2 audit, SBOM scans, and we have technologies that will help us scan their external environment to get better visibility on their web presence. Also, we're incorporating that into our CSCRIM program and giving us also that intel of any counterintelligence information that could also pose threat from a Russia or threat standpoint, whether that organization is doing business with them or has some company organization ties to any of those things. So getting that visibility and sharing that in a more of a risk report and letting our stakeholders know that these risks do exist in the environment. And here are some of the ways you can safeguard it here at CMS, because we have a ton of capabilities, whether it's access control or there's integration to our incident and response program or our SOC. We want to make sure that, one, our customers are aware of what's out there that's posing a risk from a FedRAMP or non-FedRAMP standpoint, and then giving them the proper resources to make sure they integrate safely and securely here at CMS to minimize the risk. But the way we are trying to do this is trying to get better visibility on what's being used and how it's being used and what type of sensitive data is being put in there, and using that information to do some additional intel on, what can we do differently? What other technology can we incorporate here at CMS to help us minimize that risk, whether it's a CASB server or adopting an SSPM tool, which we are using to help us do configuration management for some of our more prevalent use FedRAMP SaaS products.
Well, Shawnte Singletary, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us here at the Trellix Cybersecurity Summit.
Thank you for having me.